What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to another episode of Cultivated Ignorance. I am Will, the host.
I'm like the favorite host that's on mute right now, but I'm not anymore. Hey, what's up?
Super wrong. um, this week we are joined by our dope guest, Andrew. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, so I'm gonna let you say it.
Gajadhar.
Gajadhar. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Completely unprepared for the show. I'm sorry, Andrew, for the unprofessionalism.
Yeah, I was late. So, yeah, man. So we are joined by amazing actor, director, martial arts choreographer, whole bunch of other things. He got so many titles.
Whole lot of gang shit is what his titles are.
We actually linked up with him after we saw the advanced screening of Judas and the Black Messiah. Amazing film starring Daniel Cluck. I can't pronounce it. I'm bad at names. But I can pronounce Lakeith Stanfield, though. Yeah, man. So we all saw that movie. Very impactful. We're going to be talking about that today. We're also going to be doing an interview with Andrew, just talking about his experience in film and a whole bunch of other stuff, as well as helping bring Sundance and things like advanced screenings down to the Carolinas. We're also going to be talking about the revolution. Mike's
Mike's a what?
He's a
what go say some dumb shit. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna put a label on it. Just know they're looking for you. Yeah, we're also going to talk about revolution or reform, because me and Mike are on different sides of the spectrum on this one. But yeah, man, as always, please don't hesitate to follow our Patreon. Only $5.
You're not supposed to. You're so true.
It's only $5.
No, you supposed to. You supposed to say it's only $5, and then I was supposed to say it's only $5.
Our Patreon is only $5.
Only $5.
Okay. We got a lot of exclusive things on there. We recently did our review of, what was it, Mike? Oh, American Skin.
American Skin. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you forgot about it.
It's forgettable. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more on there. We're really getting active on there. So we're going to be doing this last season of Insecure whenever it happens.
Start saying it.
Sad boy hours. Sad boy season. Right? So, yeah, be sure to sign up. It's only $5. We got a bunch of different tiers, but all we ask for is the $5.
I will tell y'all, as bad as American Skin was, that review was hilarious. Like, that
bro, we had so much fun doing it. I feel like the best movie of all time. I feel like mediocrity, like a film being just mediocre, is just it might be worse than it just being bad. It's like, man, you can write it off, but you gotta, with mediocre stuff, you gotta break down like why this is just a waste of your time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Andrew, man. Yeah, we met Andrew. Well, Mike's met him before, but we caught up with him outside of the screening for Judas and the Black Messiah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
All right. Well, I guess first and foremost, I'm a dad of 4 now. Got one in college and one that just came. I work hard. I work hard for the kids. But as you said before, I'm an accredited producer with the PGA. I am a director, a writer, an actor. Same as all the other filmmakers out there on the independent circuit that has to wear multiple hats in the film-related world. I also am the co-founder of Freedom Festival International Film Festival and the co-founder of Carolina Film Network, a nonprofit organization right here in the Carolinas, based out of Columbia, now West Columbia, where our office is. And I'm also the co-founder of American Pit Fighting Academy and American Pit Fighting as a whole. So that's what I do. I'm a martial scientist and a filmmaker.
All the titles, bro. Just like me and you have worked together. I know you from Rich. We used to work with Rich, with Mama G. Shout out to Mama G. Mm-hmm. How did you get to know Mama G anyway? Like, because she don't be making a lot of friends out here. Like, how did you get to know Mama G?
I actually knew her son first. I knew her son first, and then I also went to school. I went to high school with one of her main or most prominent students, with really two of them, with Jake and with Nathaniel. We all went to high school together. So I already knew them. I knew they studied martial science already, and I also already heard about Mama G. And I finally met her at a fashion show some years back. I met her at a fashion show. She was at a table. I think she was selling her books, her manuscript, and I got one, and I finally met her, and it was like it was all she wrote. Because from there, it was just nothing but support, support, support.
Yeah.
And you know how Mama G is when she latch on to you. That's it.
I was gonna say, you got a skill, you talented, and you can contribute.
That is
Oh,
it.
it's a done deal. So
Absolutely.
Real quick, I know you say you're heavily involved with martial sciences. How did you, I guess, get involved with that yourself, and like kind of how has that impacted your life as a whole?
Ooh, well, I originally started martial arts when I was a kid. Your typical karate, taekwondo. I did aikido when I was younger, living overseas in Germany. My family was all in the military.
Mhm.
I was in the military myself. I had a stint where I didn't do really anything. Um, I competed in some basic stuff when I was in the military. And from there, I did Marine Corps martial arts. I was in the Marines. And when I got out, I got into law enforcement, did law enforcement for like 14 years. And I learned a lot more on the street about what I could apply from the things that I learned. And I learned real quick. You can't really apply a lot of the stuff that you do in the dojo, or a lot of the stuff that you do that's formal, or this, that, and the third, when you going up against a lot of people at once, or just life in
Mhm.
general, dealing with life threatening situations or elevated threat levels. So I kind of adapted to my situation, and I took all the things that I could consume of reality and combine that with some of the formal things, and then I partnered up with who was at the time my vice president of my company when I owned a security company, and we basically he polished it up. The other half of American Pit Fighting, he polished it up with all his knowledge base. He had the same mindset of taking the reality based part of what's on the street level versus formalized martial science, and we combine them together to create what American Pit Fighting is now. So I've been in it for a long time. I would say off and on, but more consistently when I was younger,
Mhm.
and then when I got older, it was all experience, like almost 100% experience.
word. That's what's up, yo. So how did you even get into film? Like, was that all? Do you just kind of dip in the dab and different things?
Well,
As
actually, the funny thing is that when you start to become successful at something, there's a lot of haters out there, and
what?
I have some haters out there, and I'm human, and I'm black, and I live in South Carolina, so it is what it is, and from there, I had to think about a new path. I got hired. My company got hired to do fight and stunt choreography for a feature film, and we did the fight and stunt and tactical choreography for that. I provided all the weapons, all the uniforms, and the expertise and everything else that we could do for it. And from there, it was during that transition where I was stopping doing the contract security work, and I needed to change career paths. And I looked at all the resources that I had, I looked at the education that I had, and I realized, this is something that I could really enjoy, and been doing it ever since. And again, like I said, teamed up with people like my two business partners. Well, at the time, it was just my co-founder Christian Manganelli. But then after that first project, then we teamed up with our third part of our trifecta, which is Faith Creech. And ever since, we've just been putting the work in.
I love that because I think it highlights the importance of just finding your circle, like of people with similar interests and want to see you win. And then we talking about with that before the show, like how competition is a good thing, but like competition, when competition starts to trump like community, then ain't nobody winning out here. Like it just becomes, like you said, a room full of haters on each other, just kind of outshine each other, and nobody wins that. For sure.
Absolutely. We had a
So we
had a
just
former no, I was gonna say we had one of our other co-founders that originally co-founded Carolina Film Network. He said it best. You know, we did a whole monthly meeting about it with the film community. It was titled "Collaboration Over Competition," and I mean, like, when you can wake up and see the value of collaboration over competition, you'll stop doing this or this, and you'll start going up. You know what I'm saying?
right.
And that's exactly what we did, and that's exactly why we are where we are.
Sounds like a simple concept, but I think a lot of people still struggle to grasp it. But hopefully things get better with
Of
time.
course. Of
So
course.
yeah, man. Well, let's get into this Judas and the Black Messiah, man. Like me and Will, I mean, we was talking to you too after the thing, but me and Will was like visibly shaking, like after watching this movie. Right? I ain't gonna lie to you. Like,
Oh yeah, that's facts.
we was shook. What role did you play in kind of getting this film, the screening that just happened was through Sundance here in Columbia, South Carolina? Like a lot. When I got the opportunity to watch it, I was like, oh, in Columbia? I ain't gotta go to LA. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
What role did you make? Did you play in making that happen?
So I have to backtrack just a little bit to kind of connect the dots. But Sundance initially reached out to the Luminal Theater, Curtis Caesar John with the Luminal Theater, because there were certain people that were already involved with Sundance, and the Luminal Theater's original or their place of origins was in Brooklyn, New York, between New York and here, and so people have already seen the work that he does for the community or that they do for the community and things of that nature, and that's what I believe led them to connecting those dots. As far as the dots here in Columbia, um, I spoke at an event at the library, and I was a guest speaker with Dan Rogers from the South Carolina Film Commission, and Curtis was in the audience. And after the event, he came out and he spoke to me. We exchanged contact information, and he basically was like, we should, I'd love to work with you in the future, or collaborate or something. And when there was he was doing another project where he has a pop up theater, like a drive-in pop up theater, and they were looking for another location that's in the Northeast Columbia, which is basically the heart of the Black community in Columbia. One of the good spots for that is in the Northeast side, right where Spotlight Cinemas Capitol 8 is. And so he, I simply just connected the two together and was just like, here's the information, and they did all the work. He did all the work. They did all the work. So from there, they built a relationship with the theater. And like I said, I already had a running relationship with the theater, with our production company and with our film festival. And we just all kind of came together. He put together this somewhat of a committee or advisory board, however you want to describe it, for Sundance. It was a bunch of producers, people, different film festivals, or people that work with him already with his company, and other people that are like movers and shakers in South Carolina, and North Carolina, and just connecting all of those dots. Once all the people were in place, it was a wrap. It was nothing but great minds thinking alike. You know what I'm saying? And we ran from there.
Dope, fam. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you gotta go well.
No, I was just gonna say, while I was shocked that Spotlight Theater, well, first off, someplace in Columbia had anything to do with Sundance. That was first off shocking. And then that it was Spotlight was really shocking, because things that I you just don't expect to see things at like small time theaters like that, you know. And the fact that Spotlight was still surviving during the pandemic was shocking. So like all those factors, you know what I mean? It just it just made me feel good about, the situation as a whole, seeing that we are still like thriving and getting this different type of art that we normally don't receive early or whatever. Just getting this exposure was really good, and I think really good for the city and Black folk in general. So that's all I was gonna say.
I don't
And
know.
one of the reasons why they've been able to help or to do that is because since day one they've been all about the community. They have the theater has a partnership the with the church that runs that entire plaza. And they work together with some of the programming, and as far as like the community, independent filmmakers, independent theaters, pop up theaters like Curtis. That's why we're able to do stuff like that because they're all about community. And a lot of these other theaters, you got to go through corporate offices galore just to get a no in the long
Yeah,
run anyway. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, you're right. But Capital Eight, great people, man, great people.
And I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on this, but like, well, my worst fear was because I was anticipating this movie since last year, and then the pandemic hit, and then they literally was like still previewing it, but they didn't have any release date on it at all. So I was like, damn, bro, what's this shit gonna get lost in the mix? Like, I feel like this whole thing right here just highlights how like significant it is that this movie didn't get lost in the midst of the pandemic when it can easily, because from what I heard, Shaka King, who's the director, already had a hard enough time trying to get the movie produced in the first place. Apparently Warner Brothers didn't take it to it right away. And Andrew, I'm sure you know more about that than me. But he had a hard enough time to get the movie out. Anyway, even with the all-star cast, even with it being so brilliantly made, he still had a hard time putting it out. So like I was scared it was gonna get lost in the mix in this whole pandemic in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword when it comes to black films and when it comes to independent theaters. They're fighting so many battles even without a pandemic. They're already fighting so many battles. Like I said, with that specific theater, I know personally that they struggle with even getting certain films shown at that theater just because of where it is. Like you got these big time Marvel movies and stuff like that where they have to literally, fight to get them in their theater just to show it to the community. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the filmmaking side of it, the producing and directing side of it, all those things, like especially during the pandemic, when you're talking to different distributors and all this other kind of stuff, you have to think about where we are as a country right now. All these other platforms that otherwise would not have given us, you know, as much as they're giving or highlighting as much as they're highlighting now because of the current climate in the nation. You know, now you see things like Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff like that having certain sections for people of color or for black films and stuff like that. Whereas before, you didn't see that. It's a double edged sword. There's opportunists everywhere. So it's notable to say that you know the struggles the struggles that they face are not uncommon. For their demographic, it's not uncommon. But and again, the pandemic only makes it worse. But
Right.
it's also you kind of got to get in where you fit in at times.
Uh, like I said, we about to get into this movie because we about to start the revolution, so we ain't got to worry about this kind of stuff no more. Ain't that right, Will? We about to burn all this shit down. Um, yeah, man, let's go and get into thoughts on the movie because I would love to just hear what y'all thought about the movie in general. And I think Dad's gonna throw up this website, this review from the Guardian that Andrew has a lot of thoughts on. Um, but what were y'all general thoughts on the movie, man, after watching it?
My general thoughts. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought Daniel Kaluuya had a great performance. Um, I don't know, man. I'm kind of off and on about Lakeith Stanfield, but he was good
Like
in it.
that.
I just ain't feeling him all the time. But
Was
yeah,
it because
man.
he was like his normal acting self? Like Lakeith just has like a set way of acting.
I'm about to say, I feel like he plays himself with just different jobs. Like, you know, but yeah, man, the movie was very good. I wish there were at parts I wish it made you feel it a little more, like the heartache and the struggle a little bit
You
more.
ain't feel no heartache?
I mean, at the end I did, but like I wanted them, like I told you before, I wanted them to show him getting shot in the head. I felt like that graphic image should have been seen.
No, bro, I'm good on that.
But yeah, man, the movie was really good overall. I think it deserves all the praise.
What do you think, Andrew?
As a filmmaker, you know, I got to be honest with y'all. Every single movie that goes into that theater, I watch 3 times. Every last one of them. The first time I watch it just to enjoy it. The second time I watch it to critique it, and the third time I watch it to study it, to see how the directing was, how the camera angles are, how the acting was, how everything is through that lens. And this being the first time that I've seen it, I kind of took all of those elements and did it all at one time. So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. As a director myself, you know, there were certain elements that, you know, I ain't gonna say I would have done differently because every director, you know, portrays, you know, that film in the in the lens that they want you to receive it in. So, you know, for that, you know, I loved it. I loved a lot of the directing. I had certain parts of it that really caught my attention. And then again, doing a little bit of research about the film itself and the background about it, you know, I think that it's great to see Fred Hampton Jr. and Deborah actually on set, you know, giving their insight and making sure that there's authenticity in the story, in addition to whatever theatrical embellishments that could have been there. But I also think that, you know, if you come into watching this film and you have not done any research on Fred Hampton or Bill O'Neill or Deborah or anything, any other elements about what was going on in that time, and you're just watching this as a movie, as a Black History movie, biopic, or what have you, then you're going to enjoy it. But you're going to have to take your own feelings into account when it comes to certain elements of the film. Just kind of like what he was saying, as far as I wanted to see him get shot. Like that would have been real powerful. But then at the same time, you have other people that are looking at the film that's like, this is what I saw. I thought it was powerful enough. It already got me. That part may not have been necessary. You know, it was implied, and we know the facts. Like we know what happened. It's not like we were surprised that it happened because we know the facts. You know, this wasn't just a leader of that time. He's a leader. He's a historical leader for all of us. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on the lens that you're looking at. But me personally, from the first viewing that I saw it, I really liked the film. I really liked the film.
I'm interested in knowing like what parts stuck out to you most in a good way and in a bad way. But I just real quick, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, I think.
Absolutely.
And see, I go back and forth from this all the time, but I think, like you said, the family actually being involved with the production of the movie makes a world of difference. Because like me and Will debate about this all the time, but I feel like it's so easy to make this type of film and just kind of capitalize off of Black trauma and be like, you know, this is the time that we're all talking about how bad and how hard it is to be Black. So let me make another, you know, piece about some Black revolutionary getting murdered, or something else about racism, or something else about, you know, Black women being done wrong. It's so easy to make something like that and just kind of just use that as the marketing point for a movie that really doesn't have any heart and just wants to, like I said, just jumping on the train of we're all talking about Black trauma now. So to have a movie, while it is about a very traumatic event, um, that movie have the actual family involved and actually just feel like from start to finish, feel like it actually cares about the story. And I was like, I remember like looking up Shaka King, like because I haven't heard of Shaka King before this, and I was like, I pray he Black. I pray this ain't no white dude out here trying to make a Fred Hampton movie. And thank God he was Black, and then see, you know, Ryan Coogler be the producer and everything. You can just feel like they just thoroughly cared about this, and then, of course, it's still entertainment, but like they very much cared about what they were putting out and the story that they were, trying to retell to a lot of people who have probably never heard this before. But yeah, what did stick out to you most, like in a good way and in a bad way?
I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me was definitely now understanding that I actually do have a law enforcement background, you know, and not just not just a current law enforcement background, but like, I know a little bit about the historical ways that policing has been done, not just from books and stuff, but from a law enforcement perspective. With that being said, I also am black. I also have a black perspective, and I have a reality perspective of knowing organizing bodies and how when people look at them as militant versus the reality of the people that are within it. That is something that really stuck out to me. The way that law enforcement interacted with, you know, the black people that was in the film, as well as the way that these same people were portraying these roles. They showed fear. It wasn't like, and this again, this pays mad respect to the directing. There's you can visibly see and you can actually feel and empathize with these characters. Like these characters did not look militant. Like the ones that did look militant were not from the same chapter that Fred Hampton was. You know what I'm saying? You had people that was in this chapter that didn't look buff. They weren't big. They weren't, tall. They looked like normal people that were in the community. You know what I'm saying? That were driven and had a purpose. And when it came down to it, even in the line of fire, uh, um, um, they was real and they were human. And I like that. That really stuck out to me. People being scared, people being shook, people checking up on each other. Are you okay? You know, they weren't mad at each other for fleeing or for trying to get to a place where they can be protected or anything like that. And then like how the community came together, you know, even after certain things happened in the film. I don't want to give up too much of the film, but even as the community came together to be there for one another, like that is the black community. You know what I'm saying? Like it showed a lot of realness about the black community and how we are there for each other and how we are brothers and sisters keepers. And that definitely stood out to me, and I think that it added to the authenticity of the film. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man, it made me think about a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff from how I grew up, a lot of stuff about my family, my personal family, and the way that I would be in certain situations as a father, trying to be an activist or trying to, you know, uh, you know, be there for my people, but still have to face the reality of, what I'm sacrificing for my family as well. So like all of that stood out to me, man. I think it just, like I said, it made it more of a powerful film for me.
For sure, dude. I love that you highlighted how people just look normal because I love that how much time the film made to just focus on the Black Panthers as a whole. Like it wasn't just about William O'Neill, it wasn't just about Fred Hampton. It took a lot of time just to show the Black Panthers in general, and like you said, how they interacted with one another, looking out for one another, how they asked about one another. I think the film just, like I said, it really had and it intentionally was like, I don't want this to just be like some action suspense blockbuster thriller starring Fred Hampton. Like it wanted to tell you an actual story that we don't get told enough.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so I know you had thoughts on some other people reviewing the movie at the Guardian and stuff.
The whites.
But I think
I kind of want to hear y'all's response first. I made notes. I'm not gonna lie, I made notes. I didn't want to skip a beat, man.
do you have any particular thoughts on that,
I,
Will?
I just skimmed through it. I read the whole thing, but I didn't say anything. I didn't dissect it like he did. I ain't gonna lie to you.
We both probably didn't. I will say it did speak to another point that I wanted to touch on, which is how, stories like this just either aren't told to us or just aren't told accurately, and how that molds how we grew up and stuff. How we just, me and Will talking at the theater, like, how much different would we be if, like, we were told actual stories of Fred Hampton, of Huey Newton, of Bobby Seale, like,
We were
of
militant
Sada
before we
Shakur.
graduated.
You know what I'm saying? How these stories were just purposely skipped over, like completely omitted, and how much different. And so, and then, like I said, like here, how when they are told from a certain perspective, they're just wrong. So I'm sure you can elaborate a lot more thoroughly than we can.
And the first thing that's crazy about this is that the day before we saw the film, I was livid because of something that happened in my daughter's school with her lessons. And this has always been something that somewhat bothers me. Um, I've not been ignorant to it. It's just part of it is reality, and another part of it is just it just sucks. I mean, to put it as plainly as I can, it just sucks. But I think about when I was in middle school and elementary school and high school, and I was taught Black history and stuff like that. And I think about the way that our instructors were not always Black, or our teachers were not always Black. For the most part, they weren't. I was very fortunate when I was in elementary school that my teachers were Black. But when I got to middle school and high school, all the history that I learned was about white people, and it's not it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that the way that the education system is here in America, there are those pockets that aren't full. There's those voids that aren't filled with what we definitely should be hearing. Um, and I definitely saw that with this article. I also saw it, like I said, with my daughter in her school, where her teacher is actually telling her entire class that Black people prefer to be called coloreds.
Wait.
That
Wait,
yeah,
what? What are we talking about?
yeah, it's
You talking about
exactly.
your grandma's
This
teacher
is
back in the
what
1950s?
this this is literally what I was dealing with the day before I saw Judas and the Black Messiah. So when I saw Judas and the Black Messiah, and then I seen this report, it's just some of those same feelings come back. It's like it's how to me, and I might be bugging, which I don't think I am. But I mean, I don't understand how a white teacher can tell my Black child what Black people prefer to be called. And it literally came out of her mouth that Black people would not like to be called Black or African American, but that they would rather be called colored.
But how old is the
And
teacher?
I don't know. It don't even matter.
She got
It
if she
don't
90
even-
something, then I gotta give her a pass.
So
If she 90.
disappointed right
no,
now.
she's not. I believe she's
Okay.
my age or close to it.
Oh shit,
Um,
no.
which might feel like 90 at times, but that's not what it is. but but when I read this article, there's a couple things again that just like I had to compare. I had to compare. My again, like my daughter, one of my daughter's lessons, they were asking questions as far as which slaves felt like they had the better job, or was um, Nat Turner a villain or a hero? And I'm like, these are coming from places that are not of the place that we come from. You know what I'm saying? And when I read this article, there's certain things in here that stood out to me, and I got to point it out. And I'm not speaking badly of the guy who wrote it or anything like that, because he gave the film praise. He gave the film praise. He gave, exactly what he saw, and he responded to it in the way that he did. But one thing that I noticed was that in the very last paragraph that he wrote, where he's comparing Judas and Messiah and the Last Supper, like that they were having in his house before before they died, um, to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? And he did that in more detail, coming from a personal perspective than he did the rest of the entire article. The rest of the entire article was basically him saying specifically what he saw in the film. He didn't back any of it up with facts. He didn't compare anything of it with any historical accounts. He literally took it for face value. And for me, as a person who's written reviews on films, I make sure that I take the time to do my research on the filmmaker, my research on their work, my research on the subject matter, especially if it's something that's factual or if it's a period piece. And I feel like that these are things that the audience really needs to hear because, in my eyes, anybody can go watch the film and see the same things that you wrote about. But what else do we need to know? Like, what else should the audience know? And the extra things that was said in here that, comes from that place that's not from where we come from is certain things such as, and I wrote down some notes. That one of the things that really kind of bothered me was that he compared um, Fred Hampton to Napoleon Bonaparte.
Hmm.
His confidence of Napoleon to Fred Hampton, which in my eyes is somewhat of an insult.
Yeah.
Because
Somewhat,
Napoleon was not confident; he was a tyrant. He
Exactly.
was a self-loathing tyrant, and he didn't have confidence. He was power hungry. He literally dubbed himself an emperor. Like
Right.
that is not Fred Hampton.
This is the shit
That is not.
That is terrible comparison. I'm looking at it now.
You can't. I mean, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, what? How can you compare Fred Hampton's confidence? Because, and that's another thing. Is like, it wasn't confidence. It was determination. Like he was determined to fight for his people, all of his people. You know what I'm saying? All of the community, the oppressed, the put down,
all of the oppressed,
the downtrodden, everything. You can't. That's literally the exact opposite of Napoleon.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, and this is a perfect segue into the next segment. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, but it's like, but it's certain things like that, and certain things that just knowing. I don't even think, based off of what I read, I don't think that he realized that Deborah and Fred Hampton Jr. was there to maintain authenticity in the story and everything else, because if he knew that or did a little bit of research and maybe saw some interviews with them, he'd have seen the whole thing about Fred Hampton being shy. Like he made it a point in the article to say that you know that he was shy, with Deborah and stuff like that. I'm like, no, he wasn't necessarily shy, because he kept going back to his stare. That he had like this confident stare and stuff like that. I'm like, no, it's not a stare. It's purpose. You know what I'm saying? The man spoke and lived with purpose. Whenever he was with Deborah, he had a chance to be human and find happiness for himself. You know what I'm saying? And just like he even said in the film, he's like, if I'd have known more about your current situation or our current situation, I would have knew even more of why I needed to live, being locked up. It's like these are gems in the film, and he's not highlighting that. The only thing he can say is that he was shy and he had a glaring stare. Like, nah, it was much more to it than that. And like I said, I'm just going down my little notes. I'm sorry, but this is my last one. But he made it seem like that Bill O'Neill was like thrilled to be taken out for a steak on the FBI's dime. And I didn't see it like that at all. He kind of pacified it, like as if it was like he was a happy Negro to be in to get a steak. But if you look at the way he was dressed, if you look at everything else, and if you actually did your research on stuff like that, and you see the guilt that he had lived with and all of this stuff like that, like even in the film, like he wasn't eating steak like that with him. It was a formality. He was very uncomfortable in the situation he was in. He was only in it because he was a victim of circumstance too. That and the fact that he was an opportunist. There's good sides and bad sides to the whole thing, but without that research, and you just say that he was thrilled to eat a steak and this man and have his bourbon in his house and stuff like that, then you really missed the picture.
See, this, for lack of a better word, this is shit white people be doing, bro. Like this is shit like when we leave it up to white opportunists and white historians and white educators, when we just leave it up to them entirely. And I'm not saying this is like all malintent, because I don't even think they know what they're doing at the time when this happens. But like when you have somebody who's completely disconnected from a group of people, when you have those people tell those people's stories, like it's bound to go wrong. Like you can't, nothing good can come out of that. And
I mean,
so
this is the first thing that black people, because I ain't gonna lie, there's a lot of black people out there that do not know the Fred Hampton story, that do not know about Bill O'Neill. They do not know the details of any of this stuff. So this is literally, in every sense of the word, one of the first forms of education people are getting on this story. And it's coming from this source, which is not doing it as much justice. And just like you said, like he may not, and I'm not, that's why I'm not discrediting the writer as a writer or this, that, and the third, because again, he don't know. He just don't know. But at the same time, it needs to be noted, especially like when you have talkbacks or interviews or stuff like that with black people who've seen this or people who understand, after the fact, then people need to be listening to these conversations. This is what they need to be listening to. Look at that. Look at what's written in that for face value for what it is. But at the same time, you have to go back and be educated by reliable sources and by reliable information. You know what I'm saying? And I apologize for cutting you off, man. I'm sorry.
oh no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. Because we about to get into what me and Will be fighting about anyway. So I feel like we be having the same complaints, the same grievances, these same cries for justice and mercy and equality and equity. These ain't nothing new. Like anything that we're talking about right now is this has been talking about, look all throughout history since we first came to this country. I mean, all throughout history we've been having these conversations, quote unquote conversations. It feels like to me like I don't know if black people ever really see or feel truly liberated without a true revolution. Like, do you feel like we can reform our way into black people feeling truly liberated? Or does it take like a full blown, we all need to be on some Fred Hampton shit and burn the shit down? Like, because Will
It's more than
said
that.
he trusts Joe Biden for everything.
I do not fucking trust Joe Biden at all.
This is actually an ongoing conversation between me, colleagues, and my household and everything like that, because I can't tell you how many films that I've seen and dissected that are black films and all this other kind of stuff. And I honestly feel, and again, I got to look back at like people like Nat Turner. You know what I'm saying? Where people can see certain things as you know not necessarily a necessary evil, but you have to look at what a revolution looks like, and you have to look at the expectancies of what that revolution looks like. And personally, I feel that the only way that our revolution actually could be a revolution is just like the saying goes. It will not be televised. Our revolution cannot be dictated by somebody else. Somebody can't look at the Black Lives Matter movement and say they're revolting. They can't look at the actions that we do as black people and say they're revolting or they're insubordinate or they're this or they're that or whatever. Like, no, I'm in complete control of my liberation. I look at my own household and I gotta make sure that my kids are not being taught wrong. I gotta make sure that that me as a black father, as a single black father, that they know what a good black father looks like. So I need to be involved with my children. You know what I'm saying? Like, education is everything. We were denied education, and just like I said, people like Nat Turner doing what he did, he proved the South wasn't what it they were dictating that it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, this, it's not no, these ain't no cool jobs or this job is better than that job. Bitch, it's all slavery. Don't None of us want to be here. You know what I'm saying? And there were people that were pacifying, and they still to this day pacify what's been going on. To me, I won't feel completely liberated or free or reparations or any of that shit until we own something. But we don't own shit in this country without it being taken away, for the most part. But we have to educate ourselves as far as what ownership looks like. We got to look at leaders that are out there showing us what ownership looks like, because that is the one thing. That is the one thing that this government or this country can't take away from you is what you own. I own my mind. I own my heart. I own my soul. That belongs to me. You can't take that from me. You can't take my spirit away from me. You can't take my mind away from me. That belongs to me. Now, tangible things such as property, wealth, what you see, what we were building upon, in Tulsa and things of like that, like, that's independence. Independence is a threat. And to me, as long as there's a White House, it don't matter who's sitting in the chair or whatever the case may be. It's a White House. Ain't no black house. Ain't no Native American house. It's somebody else's house. That shit don't belong to us. It never was meant to belong to us. So I didn't say why, but in my eyes, it goes well beyond that. Our advocacy is better served through our actions than through just what we say. And even more so, the people who call themselves allies, their advocacy goes more with their actions than what they say. And I look at things and I keep myself quiet. I cannot stand politics. I can't stand politics. You will not hear me talk about politics on the regular. You will not hear me talk about religion on the regular or anything like that. But what you will hear me talk about is uplifting my fellow man. Period. And like I said, I look at things like that, and I look at certain things like a lot things that people don't even realize or hear. There's an African village right here in South Carolina that the U.S. can't touch, that they don't own. And they got their own king, they got their own education system, they got their own governing everything,
Where's that
and
at?
can't be touched.
Remember that?
It's I want to say it's going towards the low country, but I can't remember. Let me see.
It's in
There you
Seabrook,
go.
South Carolina.
Hmm.
There
Wow.
you go. I can't. It's something that as soon as I came across of it, it actually kind of gave me hope, a little bit better hope, because I'm like, it's things like that people need to realize is where our strengths lie. Like, that is powerful,
Mhm.
and there's so many people that don't even know it exists, but they can contribute to it. They can contribute to its growth. And it's things like that type of wealth. Wealth ain't got nothing to do with money. It ain't got nothing to do with money. We can all make money and still have to pay taxes. We can all make money, and we owe it to somebody else in some shape, way, fashion, or form. You know, and I follow people like Killer Mike. You know what I'm saying? Building that wealth, building that growth. You know, and anybody who can contribute to it, to the knowledge base and to the education side of it and stuff like that, the more we can grow to become more independent, without the dependency of other systems or anything like that, then the stronger we'll become. And that has nothing to do with the media. That has nothing to do with being televised, or you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I have a lot of thoughts and feelings on it. But again, like I said, personally, on my personal journey, mine starts in my home.
You got any thoughts on that, Will?
Y'all voted Trump out. Y'all lost all hope. He was gonna get us there. It was gonna be painful, but another 4 years of that motherfucker, we would have learned so much. Seriously though, I don't know, man. Like a revolution is nice and all, but I'm not willing to die. Like I'm not about to risk my life. I'm not about to be out here like that, you know. I'm gonna try and work within this system. While it may not be the most effective way, that's just where I'm at, man. I'm just real about it. Like I'm not going that far. Unfortunately. I'm gonna let you lay it all out there on the line for me.
No, I mean I really appreciate the honesty, but like Andrew was saying, like because we follow Killer Mike pretty closely too. Like I'm a huge fan of him. I had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a very dope people, and as like you said, like you can accumulate this wealth, you can accumulate these assets, these materialistic assets, but if we're still working within this system, like you said, like they can change the rules. We've seen it time and time again, now more blatantly than ever, them just changing the rules whenever they see fit. Like they can just change shit up. And if the rules that they said don't work in their favor, like they have the power to overturn them back into their favor. Like as we speak right now, like Republicans are actively working to implement all that voter suppression that Stacey Abrams and all them work so hard to get rid of. They're actively trying to reverse that, like as we speak. Like they're actively writing new policies right now to reverse all that shit. So even by the next primaries, like they can probably take some of these states back. So it's like I just don't be seeing like a way out of the shit without like a complete overturn. And yes, you do have to be willing to die, in my opinion. You have to be willing to sacrifice your life, your lifestyle, your possibly your even family. Because I mean, we'll talk about it all the time. Like every true black every true black revolutionary has either been killed or disenfranchised to the point that they're completely defamed and irrelevant. And like I said, I think that's what the conversation just ends up restarting again. Like, all right, back to square one. We won rights, we won equality, we won justice. Like, and I just don't want like Will's daughter, who's my goddaughter, to have the same struggles when she gets older. Like, I don't want to see her in these same protests. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for you. This is a legit question.
For sure.
Why do y'all think the Constitution has not been rewritten?
Because it keeps those in power in power.
Do you think that they can rewrite the Constitution?
I think
Do you think that the government has the power to rewrite the Constitution?
They can do it.
They could do it if they wanted to do it. I don't even know if
amendments on it.
Right. I don't even know if I'm fighting for an amendment. I think I'm fighting for something new entirely. I think the Constitution is outdated.
I mean, even the amendments are bullshit.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's the answer right there. I mean, that goes back to that's one of the sources of why I said what I said. You know, I mean, there's amendments that are written. There's laws that are written. There's things that are written. There's bills that are passed. You know, all these other kind of things that are done. There's absolutely nothing stopping the government from rewriting the way that this country is ran. Absolutely nothing stopping them.
Exactly.
Why haven't they done it?
Because they don't
have bipartisan approval. Like that's bullshit.
No, they don't want to.
No
That's
incentive.
bullshit. It's not meant to. It's not meant to. And I know, like you said, like as far as like being, a revolution or overthrowing government or this, that, and the third, people just rioted on the Capitol. What happened? Are the laws changed? No.
No.
Are the people changed? No. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it was. I'm not saying that it was pointless, but what I am saying is that it's is it not a similar, you know modus operandi? I mean, is it not the same? You know what I'm saying? Definitely not the same mindset at all. I'm talking about the actual action.
Right.
Because when that happened, there was a whole bunch of people that's been out there that's like, well, if those were black people that did that, you already know what would happen. And you're absolutely right. But at the same time, impulsive actions never yield desired results. You know what I'm saying? They have to be calculated. In my first film that I wrote and directed, I have a line in there that you know that it's I put it in there on purpose, but people got to pay attention to certain things. Two lines. One is, you know, when you call yourself oppressed, or when you call yourself in a certain position of, you know, however you feel like this, that, and the third, or you feel famished or poverty stricken or this, that, and the third. If you go to other countries that are worse than you, how do you think they look at you? They look at you as privileged. Same color, same whatever. They look at you as privileged because you're here. You know what I'm saying? There's there's um there's a right way to handle things and there's a wrong way to handle things. But again, in addition to that, in that same conversation in the line in that film, I said, or the character says, you know, while y'all are sitting here rioting, while y'all are sitting here showing your aggressions and being impulsive and this, that, and the third, what do you think they're doing? What do you think the KKK is doing? What do you think these other groups are doing? They're being calculated. They're sitting back and watching you and watching your moves so that they can calculate how to do theirs. That's never stopped. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
It's been that way with the Willie Lynch theory, and it's still going on today. Sitting back and letting you fuck everything else up while they sit back calculating and still gain control or still maintain control. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that's always happened in this country, and it always will. And the only way in my and these are just my thoughts. I am nobody important to say whatever, but these are my thoughts. And like I said, I honestly believe that that's what it's going to take is not for our actions of impulsive actions, but it's going to take our calculated actions of learning and educating ourselves, educating our communities, and understanding not just not just seeing how the wheels turn because we've been seeing how the wheels turn, but like now we need to learn how they built that engine, how they built the motor, how they built everything. Because until we learn how to build on our own, we're gonna be riding the doom buggy that ain't going nowhere. Not against no race car that I had all this time to perfect.
Yeah. Let me ask y'all this then. So, with like the Black Lives Matter movement now being like nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, I don't know if y'all saw this. Been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, do you count that as a win as far as people acknowledging the cry for social, justice, or is that does that do more to derail the actual fight towards true Black liberation?
Are you going first?
For me myself, like I don't think the real achievement was when you saw everybody else going out in the streets. Like this Nobel Peace Prize, it don't mean much or nothing. It, at least for me, it seems more it's just like them saying, "Oh yeah, this thing really exists." You know what I mean? But the achievement was when you had people flooding out into the streets, and you had people, in a way organizing, saying that, on a mass level around the world that, social injustices all over the United States, all over the world, da da da. Um, I think the Nobel Peace Prize is just kind of irrelevant. I mean, Trump was not nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, I think. So, like, whatever. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
Going back to comparing the comparison in the film between, like I said, Napoleon and Fred Hampton, I can compare it to that. And the reason why I say that is because of the attitudes that Napoleon had of getting that prize, of wearing that crown that he didn't even really deserve. You know what I'm saying? But just having that crown in the face of everybody else that admires it or yearns for it or whatever the case may be. That's 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 when people like that can identify that as an achievement. Versus Fred Hampton, he wasn't fighting for no specific crown. The people crowned him who he was. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't, he took that and he used it the best way he knew how, the best way he possibly could. And that's what, like I said, going back to what you were saying, like the movement in the streets, on the front lines, the actions behind it and everything else, that's the, seeing those numbers grow, seeing people marching side by side, you know what I'm saying? Creating that good trouble. That's the win. When people can not, and they don't need a prize to identify that. You know what I'm saying? I don't need as a dad, I don't need somebody to say give me a trophy to say I'm the world's greatest dad. I just need my kids to smile when I kiss them. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel.
I feel that. Like it feels almost like a distraction, almost like a here's this honorary thing that you can be proud of to kind of make you to be like, we hear you, but like, and not that the Nobel Peace Committee has any control over the government or anything, but like a, we hear you, but we're not about to change shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it felt like to me. Like we
like a
acknowledge
like
what
a like a boss like a boss giving you a dollar raise to shut you up,
no, I'm gonna tell you what it
but
is,
you
Andrew.
want but you want salary.
Tell you
I'll
what
never
it is.
forget. It was like day 2 or 3 when Biden was in office, and they were like, "Oh, Biden begins talks about the Harriet Tubman $20 bill again." I was like, "I don't give a fuck. I don't care at all. Get some shit
That's
fixed
what I
for
was
real."
saying. It's just this like same old song, and it's like when we gonna have enough? So with all this, with me talking all this revolutionary talk, but us collectively talking about how like the police, the government, all these systems kind of oppress us. Like, how do we go about like building this community that can live without those things? Like, I was talking to we were talking to Thaddeus about the fact that most neighborhoods, I don't know too many people myself that know everybody in their neighborhood to the point that if someone broke in their house or like if they heard some gunshots, they would all come out to help that person. Like most people will kind of be like, oh shit, they shooting, I'm getting under my bed because I don't know what's going on over there. Like, how do we build this like actual community? Because we use the word community a lot, but like also we be fighting within these communities a lot. So it's like, how do we go about actually building a true communities? I don't think there's gonna be one big black community, but true communities.
You got it. I ain't got the answers.
Well, I have to look at it on a perspective of psychology. I'm in psychology. I'm studying to get my master's in psychology. So there's a little bit about certain aspects of behavior that I have to recognize. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying, just from what I've studied, I do believe that again, there's power in education. And I mean good, um, progressive education, productive education. Again, with the between wealth, there's people that come from the most gully hoods out there. You know what I'm saying? And they got plenty of money, but what do they know about investments? What do they know about making that money work for them? What do they know about what their actions do for what happens to their children, or how their children look at them and see everything that they do, and they learn from what they do, or they learn more from the streets than the education system that they don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really stems from education. If you want to change your communities, you have to let them know that they are one. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell two gangbangers that's one blue, one red, that you can't just tell them that they're in the same community, because they're gonna tell you, no, we're not. I'm blue or I'm red, or whatever the case may be. But if you educate them on as to why they actually are part of the same community, and you look at those similarities, and you can dissect that and go, I'm here for both of y'all. And just talking about, like, Mama G, man. Mama G's made some serious waves in that
Mm,
specific regard. And that comes
right.
from education. Taking the time to put yourself on the line for your own people. It's not just about, you know, being out there fighting for equality, on a systemic level, but it's also out there fighting for equality of peace of mind within our own community. We have to teach each other that we exist for each other. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly feel that you can't build without education. You just can't. You have to have a stronger foundation. And it's not to say that we don't have a strong foundation. We have a lot of foundations, but you have to unify those foundations into something that's more workable, or something that can be grown upon. You gotta sow those seeds. You gotta drop that knowledge. I can't tell you how many younger people out there that I've seen or that I've talked to, that may have gone one direction, and just as simple as me being a filmmaker, change their entire direction.
Oh yeah.
Like, they look at something, they see something else. They see something else, an opportunity. You got too many kids out here saying, I'm doing this because I have to. I ain't got no other
Yes.
choice. If they don't know that they don't have another choice, how the hell they gonna believe any different? You have
Right.
to tell them that they exist, and that they exist in the same world that you do. So when I go and I see young minds and stuff like that, and I talk about film, that is one of the first things that I tell them, because they ask me, like, man, how what I got to do to get in the film, and I look at them and I go, guess what? You're hired. What? It's like that? Yeah, it's just like that. You want to do it? You want to better yourself? You want an opportunity? Guess what? You have one, and I give it to them, and they see a different light. And I may not be able to do that for everybody, but I've literally seen how it changes young minds, how it changes minds in general, just to see that they exist in the same world, and that they can exist in the same world. So education is key. You can't do nothing without that foundation.
So
I
so
love it.
with that being said, people who come from poverty stricken areas, parents without much education themselves, maybe they don't have strong community leaders to uh, lean on. How would people without a guide find a way to this education? Because I
That's
think
the
that's a
problem right there. I think that's the problem. You can't expect people that don't know to ask what the question what you can't expect people that don't know what questions to ask the questions. You
Right.
can't expect people to come to you for help if they don't know that it's there. It's our job, the ones who aren't poverty stricken, or the ones who do have, access to knowledge or access to something else. It's our job to take the lead. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to do this. That is the ultimate sacrifice. The ultimate sacrifice for a person that as a human being is going out of their comfort level to go into someone else's discomfort. That is how I feel. In order for me to change the mind of a gangbanger, I got to go to his hood and not be scared to go. I got to look at them and look in their environment and say, you know what? Guess what? I ain't got to go there like acting all high and mighty, like, I'm better than you or anything like that. I can just go there on something humble and just be like, man, I acknowledge you. I love you and I appreciate you. And I'm not here to look down on you. I'm here to acknowledge your greatness. Let me show you this thing that I'm doing. Do you want to be a part of it? That's it. Because again, going back to those behaviors and things like that, you have to understand how people respond and people react. That's one of the reasons why, the majority of black people don't seek therapy. They don't seek a mental health professional. And there's a reason for that. It's because there's not enough. For one, there's not enough of us in the mental health profession. For two, there's not enough of us that are in the mental health profession willing to go to those communities and talk to those people directly and say, look, I can understand where you're coming from. And I know nobody's giving you this information. Nobody's giving you access to understanding why you feel the way you do,
Right.
why you've been conditioned to feel or act the way you do, or why our people or the people in your neighborhood act the way they do. Don't hate your fellow man. Understand him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I feel like it's our job. It's our job. You can't you can't you can't go to the doctor with a problem that's hurting you on the inside and you don't know what to ask him. If you
Right.
know, if you heard through the grapevine that when you get to your mid 40s as a man, you need to be asking, when do I need to take a prostate exam? Or what do I need to be looking for signs of, you know, around my age? If you don't know to ask those questions, you're gonna be sitting there and the doctor's gonna say, oh, okay, tell me what's wrong with you or what you're thinking about or how you feel. And you're just gonna
Right.
sit there and not say nothing. And that happens
Uh-huh.
all too often. That happens all too often, and it happens in our communities every single day. You can't expect them to ask you the questions. You have to offer them the knowledge.
I mean, I think you worded that absolutely perfect. Um, One of the most intimidating and enlightening experiences I ever had when I started going to DJJ to talk to boys who were in there for murder, gang violence, beating girls, drug dealing, all this shit. Like these kids who have just seen so much at 13, 14 years old, and it's like you said, if they don't, because a lot of people go in there these settings and they think like I'm gonna teach them or I'm gonna just put myself on this pedestal and be like, I'm gonna be y'all's Jay-Z today, so I'm gonna tell you all my accomplishments and I'm gonna disappear and hope y'all do something with your life. But like you said, when you purposely go into these communities, and I get like that's a hard thing to do. It's a very hard thing
Hmm.
because you have to know what you're talking about. You got to have that wherewithal to not, say anything that like seem that might be more harmful than helpful. And you gotta, like you said, treat people like human beings. But like you said, it's we look at all these issues on such a systemic level. Like we just look at the president and we just look at the Senate and we just look at, the government in general and say, y'all are my problem. But like when it comes to our neighbor, like we can't even start a conversation with them on the right foot. And this means to just bend that relationship as it is. Like I was talking about how I see so many arguments between black men and black women about who's oppressing who more and who hates who the most and who doesn't care about who. Like, you can't even have them discussions. So you think we're gonna be able to talk on some, societal, like some systemic shit? Like, we got such a long way to go with those things. And not saying that people aren't doing that work, but like you said, if you can't even get it on a human level, like that systemic level is the last thing you need to be worried about right now.
Yeah. I mean, even in the same, we talking about the same film. What did Fred Hampton do in his own community of black folk? A very
Right.
strong, armed black folk. He went to their house. He went to
Yep.
their house, and he didn't. When they spoke on him and they said certain things to him, talked down to him, try to rile him up, but this, that, and third, he didn't. He didn't flinch or nothing like that. He came there with a purpose. He came in there with the expressed intent of unity and presenting information on a different level than they had presented, that they had right in front of them. And that's ultimately one of the reasons why he was able to unify people like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's the fight.
Yeah.
Those are the risks. You know what I'm saying? That need to be made.
I couldn't agree more, yo. Thank you so much, man. We could talk to you all night. Definitely want to have some time for you to shout out. This Will had any? I didn't know if you had any extra thoughts on that, Will. I didn't
No,
want
no,
to
no,
cut you
no.
off.
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, if you got anything that's going on, man, feel free to shout it out. You have the stage, my friend.
Well, again, like I said, we have our International Film Festival. It comes up in August, towards the end of August, where we purposefully place it in August because we highlight underrepresented groups as well as veterans and women. And that is in the same month, you have Purple Heart Day and Women's Equality Day. And on top of that, just so if you want to get involved with that, follow Freedom Festival. um, in addition to that, you have Carolina Film Network, which is our nonprofit organization for all the Carolinas for the film industry. We have a new film society that we just launched, and we'll be announcing more developments coming soon, very very soon. But I'd look into it. It's not just another Facebook group. It's a legitimate 501c3, and we are now collaborating with a lot of leaders in the community to bring forth, you know, a lot of good collaborative efforts and educational opportunities for people coming up in this industry. So follow us there. And again, that's Carolina Film Network, npo.org. And yeah, everything else, man, just hit me up on social media. You're gonna have to show them how to spell it because
We
if they just
got
look me up, they ain't gonna be able to find it. Yeah,
look. We got a
they
smart audience.
ain't gonna
Don't
be
don't,
able to
don't tell
find
the audience. Our audience all got bachelor degrees or higher over here. So
it. Hey, you can have a bachelor degree or higher and not know how to spell my last name.
Right.
you
It's
got
just
something like
it's just a different name.
that. Right about that.
but 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 feel free to look me up, man. I accept all friend requests for the most part, and I'm all about collaboration and uplifting. So that's
That's
me.
dope, man. I want to say too, like that's how you build the communities too. Like you said, just giving the opportunity when you can. And like you said, you can't hire everybody, but like other people will see what you're doing and start to emulate that. I believe the right ones will, and that's how it gets. It just got to be a snowball. Like it just keeps rolling, rolling, rolling. And do what
Only
you
thing I'll
can.
say is don't wait at all. You have a thought to do something, you have a thought about collaboration, don't wait at all. I'm not one of those people that wait. So if you reach out to me, you're like, hey, I want to meet you. Let's meet up. This, that, and the third. Let's keep talking. Let's keep the dialogue going. Boom.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Let's do it. So yeah, let's
if
get
not
it.
now, then when, man? Like that's the thing. Like why
Exactly.
do we basically? So
No
very
need.
dope. Appreciate you, Andrew, man. We definitely gotta have you back on.
I
Um,
appreciate y'all letting me be on.
of course, bro. Of course, of course. We're gonna really quickly get into our thirst of the week. This is where we celebrate Black women out here just doing their thing, being all dope and melanated and beautiful and everything. Um, this week we have the lovely Melodic Tones, who is a singer and songwriter right here in Columbia, South Carolina. She has killed numerous shows all over the city. I've seen her at what was that? What was that show? It was like a soul. It's like an R&B and soul bar. I can't remember. It's not open anymore. But anyway, she's been out here for a hot minute. She has an album out called Detox. Very dope stuff. She also dropped a single with Will's baby mama, Rennie Rucci, late last year,
You know it.
called "Let Me Know." It's kind of R&B, kind of popish. Some of the joints that she does, very very lively. As you can see, she's fine as hell. You can find her music all over Spotify, Tidal, Apple, and Beatport. You can find her IG at I am melodic, spelled Melodik. And yeah, check her out, man, because she been out here popping for a hot minute. So yeah, man, that is our show today, man. So thank you again, Andrew. Appreciate you and your
Yes, sir.
luxurious
We
hair.
definitely appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, your hair
Well,
look nice too, man.
hey, thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Definitely check out Judas and the Black Messiah, y'all, when it comes out.
Premieres on HBO February 12th.
Check it out. Let us know what y'all think. And we'll see y'all next show, man. Thank y'all so much again. Hold down.